Hey guys, PretzelMan945 here. Welcome back to another video. And yeah, I know, back to crappy camera quality. But here's the thing with this. I'm going to be probably switching between each of the different camera styles depending on how I like what type of video I'll be recording, like whether it's going to be a shorter one or it's going to be a longer winded review or a longer type video like this one is. So today's video is a review of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show, and I said I would do this during my WandaVision review, so here we are. The Falcon and Winter Soldier is an absolutely excellent show, and being a person who absolutely adores the like Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Civil War, and movies like that, I thought this show is absolutely fantastic. So starting with some basic things, I really love one of the things that I think that the creators of these shows, and I guess this must be a credit to Marvel's team, period, and who they're hiring, but the Marvel setting, like the setting for both WandaVision and this show, have done such an excellent job of displaying the effects of the blip. And like, for example, like in WandaVision, it was like the effect it had on Wanda, and in this is like how it affected the whole world, which I really have to applaud like every single one of these Marvel shows so far for handling that bit of setting so excellently. So yeah, I think the setting is absolutely incredible. I was a bit disappointed to see that it was only 6 episodes, because I mean, considering WandaVision was 9, I think they could have easily made 1 or 2 more episodes. But to be perfectly honest, I feel like they developed a very, very good plot line across 6 episodes, but I do wish they could have made it at least 7 episodes, maybe 8, maybe not 9 because WandaVision was 9. But I personally just feel like that would have been a better way to go about things. So moving on to the plot, I think it is very, very well developed. So we start in the first episode where Sam. Oh, by the way, this is just complete spoilers for people who have not seen the show. All my reviews are spoiler reviews, pretty much. So if people have not seen the movie or TV show or whatever that I might be reviewing, then they should go watch it first before watching my review. If they don't want spoilers. If they do want spoilers, then okay. So we start out on the first episode with Sam giving basically the museum the shield, and there's this really whole dynamic that develops across the show, which I absolutely love, between Sam and Bucky. And I'll get to characters in a minute, but about like what the shield means to them, and I think that was a very, very powerful part of it. So then we're introduced in the end of the episode to John Walker, who is the new Captain America, and according to the comics, eventually becomes the U.S. agent. So then in the second episode, we're introduced to the threat of Carly Morgenthau, who is basically the main villain. I'll get to all of this when I'm talking about characters. And then at the end of the second episode, they free Zemo. Because yes, Zemo is in this show and he is absolutely awesome. And it just kind of, I think the plot is developed very well. It's hard for me to explain it without really going into in depth about a lot of character things, because that is a huge part of this show are the characters, which I love that. So starting with Zemo, I think Zemo is easily one of the coolest characters in this whole show. I definitely feel like he was an okay villain in Civil War, but I really feel like his full potential was realized within this show. Because, for one, he is insanely hilarious. And two, it's really, really interesting to me his motives that super soldiers just need to be wiped out. Like, he's not deceptive about it. Like, there's even this one scene where he's holding the super soldier serum, just drops it down, crushes it with his foot. I know you can't see my foot, but let's see if I can emulate this. Here we go, fancy foot reveal. So imagine it's here. He kind of goes like that. Okay, that was bad. There's my foot, by the way, for people wondering. Okay, that was a weird section of the video. Anyway, but yeah, I think I made the point clear. He just crushes it with his foot. And that's a really cool moment, just because it really symbolizes like what he thinks about. And also Zemo is just funny. Like, he is I might have mentioned this already, but he has so many amazing moments. And then there's this other really cool scene where he's like commanding Bucky like to act as the Winter Soldier, and the Winter Soldier scene plays in the background, and that was honestly just one of the coolest moments of all time for me. I love that so much. I thought it was such an awesome callback. And Bucky did excellent acting in that scene. So, yeah, Zemo doesn't receive a lot of development just because he doesn't need it. Like, he knows his motives. He's a funny character through and through. He is eventually captured by the Wakandans. I'll talk about that next. So the Wakandans are only in this show very, very briefly. And their whole thing is to capture Zemo. My personal thing is, while they were cool, I didn't see much point. And by that, I really mean that, besides maybe one or two action scenes, and obviously the really critical moment where, like, Bucky calls in the favor from the Wakandans to, make the new Captain Falcon suit. I'll get to that later. And then obviously there's the great scene with Bucky's character, which is like the flashback where the Wakandan, I forget what her name is. Yeah, I do not know it off the top of my head, but yeah, she, like, there's that what is it called? Flashback scene, where she removes Buggy's Hydra programming, and that's just a fantastic scene. Anyway, whenever I do these reviews, I feel like I do this or here. Anyway, so when it comes to the Wakandans themselves, I wish they played a bigger role in the story, I think is kind of what I'm trying to say. I feel like they were, I won't say shooed in, because they played too critical of a plot point. personally, for me to call it that. But I do wish they had a bigger role in the actual story than what they had. And now we get to what is, in my opinion, I won't say the worst, because I don't feel like this show has any bad characters, but the least interesting character for sure. When it comes to Sharon Carter, I think it was a really interesting idea bringing her back. And I think there are definitely a lot of interesting points of dialogue that was done with her. But I feel like the direction they took with her was just completely wrong. I did not like the direction they took Sharon Carter's character really at all, personally. And I really just think that it's just disappointing to me, honestly, like what they did with her character. Because I really like that they explore like what she did after she was like involved with the Civil War thing. I thought all that was interesting. It was really, really interesting hearing her back. And throughout the show, we hear of this mysterious figure called the Power Broker, who's this person with lots of money and weapons. And in the final episode, it's revealed she is the Power Broker. And that is something that, thinking back on it, was fairly telegraphed. I didn't notice it at all, but thinking back on it was actually pretty telegraphed. And to be honest, I think this is like the worst possible direction they could have taken her character. And let me explain why. Because it makes absolutely no sense for her motives. Because in the bonus scene of the last episode, like, she gets a pardon and then she calls these people like, "Get ready, boys. We have loads of weapons and the entire government is on our side, so we can do all this illegal stuff." And like, I just don't think it's very understanding of like where her character came from between Winter Soldier and Civil War, and then now in this show to like what is such a drastic change. And I just really, thinking back on, I really don't like the plot twist and the direction that they took Sharon Carter's character, and that is probably my primary gripe with the actual show. So speaking of villains, moving on to the main villain, because not really a villain I would call it, but the main villain of this show is Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers. So the Flag Smashers are basically this group of people who use the super soldier serum, or like a recreation of it, per se, to basically steal medical supplies and then cause violence for like inaction against the GRC, which is the global something committee. I know that. GRC is what I'll call it. And they want to like get basically they want to get life back to what it was like during the blip, because people were actually helping each other, the community was developing, and then as soon as everyone snapped back, all that changed. So I really think there was an interesting idea for their motives with that, and I really love that Carly is doing what she believes is right. I always love those types of villains. So that is one reason, particularly, I really like the Flag Smashers and Carly's character. And Carly also has a lot of really, really interesting and has a lot of really, really good moments. something that honestly doesn't make the most sense to me is, like, I feel like they tried to develop her as this kind of seeming villain who has her own motives, and I think they succeeded in that. Where I do think they kind of, I won't say failed, but made a few mistakes, is also trying to develop her as this threatening villain at the same time, because the two, when they're in conflict with each other, generally do not work that well. And so for that reason alone, it just makes Carly lose a few points as a character. But I do love that, like, because in the comics, Curly Morgenthau is a guy, and the fact that they changed it to a girl is one thing, a very powerful feminist message, and got to applaud Marvel for doing that. Interesting tidbit, the actor who plays Curly Morgenthau is the same actor who played the main rebel guy in Solo, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. At least I think it's the same actor. Anyway, so with Carly's character, I think that they tried to do a little too much, and that resulted in a bit of a poorer character than I think it could have been. But overall, still a very, very good character and a really interesting villain idea there present. Now, obviously, we come to the namesakes of the show. I'm going to talk about Bucky first. So, Bucky is, I think Bucky, it's really hard for me to say, because I really like both Falcon and Bucky in this show. But I think Bucky just edges it by, like, this much. Like, a very tiny amount. And, for one, I think the idea that his character is having nightmares from his previous killings, I think that is absolutely genius. And the fact that he has to, like, make amends, for one, it leads to a lot of hilarious dialogue with the therapist character. But also I feel like, of course, you still have that conundrum of where, like, he's over 100 years old by this point. So he's lived that entire life to think about. And then there's, on top of it, there's the Winter Soldier thing. So with those two things, I really just think it makes such a depth of character that you see with him. And also, he's just a complete badass when it comes to the action scenes in this show. So now moving on to the big name one, Falcon himself. So there are several aspects to his character. The first one, and obviously one of the most interesting, is the one that involves, like, him shying away from the responsibility to take up the shield. And that's a really interesting thing because, like, he doesn't feel like he can live up to Cap's image. And that's a big thing right there. Because that also kind of leads into the race storyline, race subplot with Isaiah Bradley. And I must say, like, across every single Marvel movie I've ever seen, this is one of the best subplots across everything MCU I've ever seen. Because not only does it talk about race, it talks about an old hero, and it talks about, and it relates to so many current events today. And so basically the way it works is Isaiah Bradley was this super soldier who was a black person, and when he didn't do what the government wanted him to do, he defied orders to save his fellow soldiers. He was thrown in prison for I think it was 30 years or something. It was some long span of years, like a couple decades. I think I'm not sure the exact number, but he just has no faith in the U.S. government, and there's no way he believes they will never let a black man be Captain America. Sorry for that terrible voice impression. I can't really do many voice impressions, but he said they will never let it be black man be Captain America. And if they did, what self-respecting black man would want to be is the exact quote. And I really love how much this relates to just current events in the world because of what happened last year with Black Lives Matter and everything like that. And obviously, it recently being the anniversary of George Floyd's death. And they finally put the police officer, they finally, I think it was sentenced to death or something like that. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into race here. So yeah, there was that whole discussion, which I absolutely loved. I think that subplot is so amazingly done, honestly. I do think that excuse me. Yeah, just overall, I think it is such a well-developed plot line, and it is just absolutely fantastic overall. So because of that alone, I'm gonna have to call it one of the best subplots in everything MCU. Especially the payoff at the end, where they're in the museum and they see him paid off, and especially with the speech that Sam gives, that's just a very moving speech. Because you basically heard what Carly's intentions were, and that you made the senders on the GRC reconsider what they're doing. And I think that was absolutely incredible. And one more character I realized I forgot to talk about, who's a very major character in the show, John Walker. So John Walker's character is really interesting because, first off, in the way that he tries to live up to Cap's image, and his relationship with Lamar is good, but to be honest, I feel like Lamar was I don't want to say pointless, but I think they could have done something more with his character than just be a sidekick to John Walker. And so obviously he becomes this new Captain America, and he wants to defend his country. He wants to be he wants to live up to his image, and one of the ways he wants to do that is by taking the super soldier serum. And so, whereas we discussed earlier, Zemo crushed it with his foot, Walker is the one that picks up what's in his pocket instead of destroying it, which is something normally some people would expect Zemo to do, but John Walker did that, which I think is really, really interesting, and I love that aspect of his character. Even if his character was extremely hateable at times, and believe me, it was hard to like this character at many points during the show. But I think that in general, when a director or a TV show team of TV show makers, directors, whatever you want to call it, makes an audience hate a character like that, that is an indication of me just how well the character was created and written. because not many characters, like take Cypher from the Matrix for example, because it's so easy to hate him, and to do that is truly to make an audience just completely dislike a character is truly an excellent feat among like writing with characters, in my opinion. So that's exactly what they did. I think they executed that aspect of his character to absolute success. And so he has this one more scene with Lamar Hoskins, which I think is definitely one of the most interesting, and it's basically like the last bits of his rational thinking coming through. And he's like, do you think it's a good idea to take this serum? Like, do you think it will change me? And Lamar is just like, he gives this stereotypical answer like, power can mean nothing but good things, right? And oh, do we learn the opposite with John Walker's character, because he basically, and there's this whole thing with discussion in Zemo too, and why he hates the soldiers, and like Bucky's like, Steve Rogers didn't get corrupt from the serum, and then Zemo is like, but there hasn't been no Steve Rogers, has there? And I think that ties in excellently to Walker's character. One, because of the image thing, like he's trying to live up to the image of Captain America, but he's not quite Captain America because there hasn't been another Captain America before, or another Steve Rogers, sorry. And so, it basically makes him go insane. And when Carly accidentally kills Lamar Hoskins, then he basically goes insane. He starts targeting the Flag Smashers, and he believes he is the one and true Captain America. And then comes like possibly the best bit of imagery and probably the best moment in the entire show, when he just plunges the shield into that guy's chest, even though he wasn't the guy who killed Hoskins. And it was actually the same guy who had rooted for Captain America and called him a good guy earlier in the episode, which I think just makes that imagery just that much more powerful. And just seeing the episode end with innocent blood on that shield, like, oh my god, the powerfulness of that symbolism was just absolutely through the roof. Like, I could not believe what they had done with that when I actually saw it. Like, to this day, it's still a little mind-boggling that they did that, and I absolutely love it. It was such a deep expression of symbolism in so many ways that would take me a long time to describe adequately, but that is probably the best moment in the entire show. And John Walker's character, as a result, is extremely dynamic, especially in the final episode where he has to choose between saving the truck of people and getting his revenge on Carly. He chooses the former, which is, I feel like, a complete payoff to his character arc, in that he wanted to do a good thing. So I absolutely love that part of it. And a few more quick things. I think the action is incredible. I mean, obviously this is a Marvel show, and at no point, just like WandaVision, Final Fight, I think the action was stereotypical or just Marvel whatever. I think it was all very exciting, and I loved seeing all of it, as I did with WandaVision. And a final point, I don't think that it is very fair to compare these two shows, because I know there's been a lot of WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier comparison videos going up all over YouTube and whatnot. And I honestly just don't think it's fair to compare the two shows at all, because they're just so drastically different that I just don't think it's very fair to compare the shows, which is why I will not be making any sort of video like that. Overall, I think this show had great plot development in the few episodes that it was given. I think it had excellent character development and just amazing setting with regards to the blip and all that, and amazing character ties to the plot and character connections and relationships. The only character that I think they could have done better with was Sharon Carter, in my personal opinion. And the action was incredible. And like I said, it was extremely well paced. Overall, it was an absolutely fantastic show. And for people who are fans at all of Falcon, Winter Soldier, like Baron Zemo, or just fans of the movie Civil War or Captain America and Winter Soldier, I would absolutely recommend this show to any Marvel fan, really, because I think it's such a fantastic continuation of Phase 4. With that said, the review done, I have a few more channel announcements. One, pretty soon I will be launching a second channel called Bowsendorf 876, or just Bowsendorf of some kind, where I will upload Smash clips and probably replays of the sort, and do stuff like that. I will and like make various like Smash related videos and stuff like that. Also expect tier list videos coming soon, because I have got permission from my parents to do tier lists, basically, and I need to get basically the final step to that to record tier list videos fully. Second, I will be starting a new series with the first video that is going up maybe this week, depends on whether I finish the movie or not. It's going to be called The Final Reckoning. And basically what it is I'm going to rewatch, like voluntarily rewatch a movie that I have previously proclaimed to hate. And I'm going to give my final thoughts on it. So the first movie in that series is going to be Iron Man 2. I'm not sure if that's going to come out this week or sometime later. It just depends on whether I have time to finish the movie. So yeah, look forward to that new series. Also, probably tomorrow I'll have a new video out about something that I haven't really talked about before, but I think would be a really interesting video to make about. Which to say it involves music in movies. Anyway, that's about it. See you guys.